Hi everyone, this is a video recording of Marshall and me looking to build a very simple hobby level CNC mill machine. So we're trying to do it as inexpensive as possible, and we don't really know what we're getting into. So I'm hoping that this video will not only help us to see where we might have gone right or gone wrong, but also if you're interested in building something similar, hopefully you can learn from some of our mistakes and some of our best practices. So I started the other day with a few orders from Amazon, so I don't have all the parts that I need. What I do have in this box is a very simple Arduino UNO that also has one of our garble shields. I'll just empty out the box here to show everyone what is included. And there's also a DVD in there, but I don't think that's going to be valuable for us at all in this process. So I have something that says high quality USB cable. It doesn't appear to be shielded, which may or may not actually be a problem for us, so I'll let you know. We have a little bag of jumpers, which I assume are for the shield or for the Arduino for the different configuration settings. The one reason why I chose this set is it was about $23 Canadian, and it included some extra pieces that I thought would be really important to the overall build of the CNC. These are limit switches. So the limit switch is really used within the CNC milling process to make sure that any of the 3 or 4 or 5 axes, however many axes we end up building in this hobby level mill, the travel of the router won't actually exceed the work surface. So we don't want to accidentally have a drill or a router or whatever we end up using in this project to cut out the shapes in aluminum or wood or plastic actually go beyond what it has been designed to do. Obviously there's some safety issues there, so I'm really excited about these. They seem to be fairly simple. I really like the fact that they're all soldered on nicely. You probably can't see them very well, so I'll try and do some other videos with some close-ups, because this is also my first YouTube video. But one thing that came with this that I really enjoy is, or that I think is really going to be beneficial, is the fact that it came with a connector cable. So I would be able to connect these, I guess in theory, connect these limit switches somewhere to the garble shield, and that would then deactivate the process. We also have some stepper motors with a heatsink. So the stepper motors are going to be driving, these stepper drivers, or motor drivers, whatever the correct term is, will actually be responsible for sending the signal to each of the different steppers. Marshall, do you want to pass me the scissors and I can open this up? Thanks. So the driver, again, is what's going to send the actual signal to the stepper motors, which are then going to be responsible for, if you get a nice picture there, yeah, we'll get some close-ups later. It's responsible for driving the router on the X, Y, Z, A, or B axis. So this kit actually came with 4 limit switches, 4 drivers. One you've seen there, the heatsink is still in the packaging. It just looks like a light aluminum heatsink. It looks like it has an adhesive tissue on the back, so I should be able to, once I put it all together, I should be able to get those fixed properly. Just help control some of the heat. We'll open up the garble shield here. Actually, I'll use the scissors again. So the garble shield is driven by 12 volts DC. All of the drivers, the stepper motor drivers, are going to plug into these 4 different areas. We have the power connection. I assume this is an on-off switch. There's quite a few jumpers that are here. There wasn't really any instructions that were included within this set, so I'm sure that I will be able to go to the manufacturer's website and obtain those, so I'm not too concerned at this point. This really is the first time I've actually held a CNC shield before. So one thing that the shield does is on the bottom side here, there's quite a few pins. These pins are going to line up with the Arduino board, and they'll lock in, enabling us to have the capability of controlling all the motors from the USB signal that that drives for the input. So I'm just going to put this back into the foam here to protect the pins for now. And we'll open up the Arduino. So this really is the engine that is going to be controlling all the signals from the computer, passing those over to the shield, and then of course the shield is then responsible for controlling things like the spindle, controlling all of the different stepper motors. So really simple. This looks like it's a 12-volt DC connector. There's a few options here for some pinouts to change. I don't really have anything else to say. It appears to arrive in decent shape. This is the brand was, so it says UNO. So it's the Arduino UNO. I believe this is a revision 3, and the shield is like a 1.3, 1.4 garble compatibility. So what we're going to do with this now is load the software onto the Arduino. So we'll flash the firmware, and we'll test to make sure that it was successful. We don't have any other parts here at this time, so I think that's as far as we're able to go. All right, so to do that, I have my laptop here. I'll take one of these. I don't believe that I'll require power connected at this point to flash the software, but I'll pull out the attached USB cable. I'll plug the USB into my laptop and into the Arduino controller. Let's make sure we have the connections. It's a really tight fit. Any damage at all. There we go. All right, so you may or may not be able to see the lights flashing here.
Yeah, they pretty much can.
Yeah? Okay, good. So we've got some lights flashing, so there is some activity. I have pre-installed the Arduino IDE onto my laptop, and I've downloaded the Garble HEX that we will push over to this. There was an application that, sorry you can't see my screen here, but that's okay. There's an application called HEX Uploader, and HEX Uploader is, I guess, the Mac version of the X Upload, or whatever the application is for Windows computers. But I'm not a big fan of Windows computers. So when I use the application, this is going to connect. This is going to connect to the computer through USB. So when I take a look at my user interface for the HEX Uploader, which is really simple, it's going to allow me to choose the Arduino type. So this one is the UNO, so I'm going to select that, the 328P. For the serial port, I'm going to select the USB modem FA131. I'm sure that is just some generic name that is provided from this hardware manufacturer for this connection. Yeah, you can absolutely plug that in. We won't do it right now because we don't have the hex loaded into it, okay? There's a baud rate setting. The files and the packets, I assume, are incredibly small. I can't imagine that baud rate settings are going to have really any value in terms of performance. So I'll just leave it at the default. It's 115,200. And I'll choose the dialog to upload a hex file. So the hex file that I'm going to load is on here. And
one eternity later.
All right, so
Found
the file. All right, so I'm going to click open. So right now there's a dialog screen that indicates that it is connected to the device and that it's writing. It was pretty quick. Now what's happening is it's going through a verification that the data is complete. It was a really small file. It was like 25 kilobytes. It says it's done, and it says thank you. So what we can do now that we have...
It does say thank you.
It does say thank you. So what we've done is we've flashed the hex into firmware. So we should be able to go into the Arduino IDE and communicate to it just to see what type of default settings have been loaded within the firmware. So we'll take a quick look at that. So open up the Arduino IDE. And the reason why I'm doing this is just to verify that the hex was loaded properly, and more for my own benefit to make sure that I am able to get some experience with working with the IDE. So I should be able to view the... Alright, so within the Arduino IDE, I opened up a serial monitor window. So what I can see here is, or I can interact directly with the Arduino through this monitor. So it shows garble 0.9A $sign for help. If I go $sign, I believe that should report all of the different settings. So through this activity, I'm not going to change anything right now. We don't have the motors, we don't have the cables. There's a lot of work that we still need to do. This was more for validating that the installation was successful and that I was able to create that serial connection and go through the settings. Anything to add at this point? Yeah, we'll plug that in a little bit. Let's make sure that we've got everything first. All right, so from us, that's our first video for our own
Part 2
records.
coming out.
And part 2 is coming out. All right, thanks for watching, and have a great day.